Mike Wood here with ViperSharp.com to show you how the ViperSharp system is better than other systems, the enhancements that I've made, and why you would want to use ViperSharp over other systems. One of the first ones is this guide rod. There's no slop in the guide rod. You get only the movement that you want. This is not moving up and down. It's held very, very secure, very tight, only where you want it to be. It does give you freedom of movement side to side, and so you've got the movement that you need to have with none of that slop that you don't want. Okay. And so that was one of the first things. Now, another thing I noticed with these other systems is the guide rod had nothing back here stopping it. And so when I was really aggressively reprofiling a knife and moving back and forth there, I would sometimes find myself coming off the edge of the blade and coming back and hitting that blade. And that was an annoyance for me. And so that was a fairly simple fix there, but that's something that I've done with ViperSharp so that we don't have that opportunity of falling off the front of the blade. So that stopper will keep that from falling off. So no slop, no damaging the blade out here on this side. Another thing that, along with this part of the system that was annoying to me, was the other systems you have multiple, well, some of them, right? You have multiple guide rods to connect to a stone that was encased in plastic. And that was annoying to me. We'd have to swap out all of that. I have all of these different rods connected or reconnect a rod. It's just a hassle. So I wanted something that was quick and easy to swap out. And so an easy swap with the stones is a big one for me. And so that has been a big part of ViperSharp from the beginning. And this snap-in approach is something that nobody else really has. And another thing that I noticed was some people were annoyed by the fact that the fingers are right next to the stone, and they felt like that was just a little too close to the blade. And so I developed a system that has a knob up here that also has freedom of movement, so you're not locked in tight there. It can move as you move on the sharpening edge there. But keeps your fingers up safe away from the blade, and that actually gives a nice control on that to be able to sharpen and move to. So keeping your fingers safe was another big one. Now, one of the biggest things I noticed was the lack of options with your angle. You're limited on whatever that sharpener allowed, and with this system you've got complete freedom of movement. So just about an infinite array of sharpening angles depending on what you might want. So most of the time I'm sharpening right around the 20 to 22 degrees for most of my everyday carry knives and even my kitchen knives. And this little digital angle finder, which I'm not going to sell, I can't seem to find a good wholesale option for those, but we will have it has a magnet in it, and you'll have the ability to attach that to the top of that angle finder so you can find the exact angle that you want. The angle finder will also zero out. Hold it down here and hold down that 0, or just press it in, and that will give you the 0 based on the surface that you're working on, and then you can put it on your system and get the angle that you'd like to have. And so once you have found the angle that you want to work with on your knife, and it might be because you want to match the blade, it might be because you want an exact angle, whatever it is, this will give you a little bit more precision to work with. And so I will have an affiliate link for those on Amazon, so you can go get one of those if you'd like. It's been phenomenal for me. That's how I've been able to determine the markings for the angles. I will have markings on the back, so you'll have the predetermined angle markings back here on the back of this inner post, and so that'll definitely give you a general guide But if you want that exact angle, you want to use something like that. The next thing that we want to look at is we want to have something that will allow you to swap the blade over real quick and easy. And so this system does that. So when you're done with one side, you slide this out. You'll slide that back in on the other side. Now I mentioned the no marring of the blade. If you've got a polished blade, as I mentioned before, if you've got a coated blade that you don't want to mar the blade, well, I've thought of that too. So the clamp actually has some rubber pads on the end of it here that will grab the knife. And part of that is to protect the blade. Part of it is just to make sure you're holding onto the blade tight. But another big thing for a benefit that you get from having these pads is even these blades that don't have a flat, that have an angle on both sides, you can still grab onto those without any problem with these rubber grips. Now also the design in this clamp has another special feature. I've got a shelf back here on the bottom half that gives us a split section right in the middle, so your blade is always going to be held. This isn't going to screw down tight back here and push the blade out, which is something that happens with some of those other systems. So here with the ViperSharp, that's going to grab onto that blade right there. This shelf is going to give a little raised section at the back, and you're going to hold that perfect all the time. The last thing that I wanted to mention here is the base. This again was one of my big pet peeves with guided knife sharpening systems on the market. You could buy the system, but you have to hold it in your hand, and some of those are very awkward, and that was a concern for me. You could buy the base, but you had to buy it separate. I wanted to create a system that had the full set, everything that you would need without any problem. With this current base, we have a system that will not tip over in normal use if it's just sitting there, but if you want to secure it nice and tight, it has some holes here where you can actually bolt it to the work surface and have it in a permanent position. Or, because of the design, you can clamp it and just clamp it to your workstation and then pull that off when you're done. From top to bottom, ViperSharp was built to create the ultimate in precision sharpening. Give it a try today. You'll be glad you did.